What's up, everybody? This is Ricardo Rodriguez.
And Matthew Messick.
And this is
the Profits Over Wages podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Profits Over Wages podcast, where we do weekly interviews with highly successful business owners and entrepreneurs. We discuss life, business, and entrepreneurship to bring forward the lessons learned from success and failure, and most importantly, have fun while doing it. On episode 50 of the podcast, we sit down with Jai Sephora. He's a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur and is quickly becoming a name you should know in the Chicago business scene. He is involved in real estate lending, forex trading, DJing, restaurants, and cannabis. It was great sitting down with Jai, and we hope that you enjoyed the episode as much as we enjoyed doing the interview. Without further ado, Jai Sephora.
Wait, is it Jay or Jai?
Honestly, my mom calls me Jai. But
Jai.
Everyone calls me Jay. So like the story behind that is like when I was in high school and just growing up in general, like all my teachers would butcher my name. So I'm just like, look, from here on out, it's fucking Jay. You know?
I mean, it's literally 3 letters.
Yeah.
It's like shouldn't be that hard.
But it's like, you know, like they see a name that they've never seen, like that's not John, and they're like, I don't know.
John or Matt.
Oh my God.
I'll just say it the way I know.
Yeah, just call me Jay. It's fine.
So Jay, thanks for coming in. Known you for a few years, and I know you do a lot of different things. For people who aren't familiar with you, kind of tell us who you are and what you do.
Good evening, Profits Over Wages. My name is Jai Sephora, and I am a serial entrepreneur.
And what things do you entrepreneur?
Oh, yeah, so...
What does that even mean?
Apologize. So I do a little bit of real estate. I'm also in trading as well. On the lending side, I'm in the hard money. And then I also just recently got into cannabis, and I also own a restaurant.
And you're a DJ.
Oh, yeah, and I'm a DJ. Well, first and foremost, DJing is just who I am. It's not what I do. You know, I feel like I would be doing it if I didn't get paid.
Right.
So, like, that's like 5 different things. You do all this, like, simultaneously now?
Yeah, it's a very weird juggling that I do, but it all works out somehow at the end of the day, you know. I don't necessarily day trade. Most of my trading is, like, swing trading or some sort of like fundamental play that I'm seeing in the markets.
What's swing trading?
So swing trading is where you're not necessarily holding it. Like day trading is anything that you trade within a day. So
Right.
Within the trading day, swing trading is anything you hold overnight. It could be a week. It could be 24 hours. It
Just
really
riding
depends.
a quick cycle.
Yeah, exactly. You're looking for an opportunity to buy low and sell high, or buy high and sell low. You know, it really doesn't matter.
Right.
How'd you initially get into that? Because like stocks are foreign to me. I don't know anything about it.
I didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah. So, for example, with stocks, I was also fascinated by it because, like, getting into business and investments, you're like, the stock traders are like those guys that they were a mystery to me, and I was like, I need to learn this shit. Can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
There's only one guy who has ever soared more than me, by the way. 2. Yeah, Matt Laracy and Ryan Grzelazo.
I was like, I got to learn this stuff, So I basically went out there and just went on a knowledge hunt for like a good year. I practiced trading every single day for a year, and then eventually deployed my own money into it, and just it's been a battle ever since. It's something you learn every single day.
Nice. And then before that, you were a DJ?
Yeah, so...
let's take it back to, like, what did you actually start with? Like,
Like, why are you trading shit? Like, why aren't you at 9 to 5?
So I guess, when I was a kid, obviously I went through a bunch of jobs. My first job was at KFC. I went in there, I did the interview, I was so stoked. Went back to work, like, you're hired. And went back to work the next day. I stood there for literally an hour, and I was like, I can't do it. I'm out.
Wait, you literally walked off the job?
I walked off the job within an hour. I was like, I can't do this. This is, you know what I mean? Like, you get somewhere and you're just like,
yeah, I don't want to be here.
I don't want to be here. I'm just thinking about, like...
Was that like during training, like the first hour of training? Like,
exactly.
I don't like this.
Yeah, I was literally like, nah, dude, I'm not flipping burgers. It's not my thing. But yeah, essentially I was doing, various hospitality jobs throughout high school, and I was just like, I'm sick of this. I need to just do my own thing, Like, you just hit that point, that wall of like, why am I working for somebody else?
Yeah.
I need to take control of my life. And
build your own dreams.
What did you start doing?
So like through that entire time, I think I started DJing when I was like, 16 years old probably, and just playing teen clubs and whatever. And it was just something I fell in love with. I was DJing, writing music.
When was this?
Like 2000 and early.
Like early 2000s?
Yeah, like I want to say like 2007, maybe 2006.
Okay.
It's definitely been a while, but DJing was, I feel like DJing is really where I discovered becoming an entrepreneur, because you're really thrown into managing your own business, you know. Like,
pretty much. You're kind of on your own out there.
yeah, you're an independent contractor right from the get-go. So I'm like going out there playing teen clubs and sneaking into bars and stuff. Like,
because you're a pretty big clubs now, right?
yeah, totally.
Like work your way up.
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. You know, being a DJ kind of goes hand in hand with being a music producer. You know, I've been in the studio with like Grammy-nominated artists and stuff, but it's just like a life where I started, you know, quote unquote ghostwriting for pop stars and stuff, and I really hated my life. Like I turned something that I loved, and I was like, I don't like
into a job.
You made it a job that you hated in the first place.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was like, you know, when you're making art, you don't want to make art for somebody else.
Yeah.
You want to make art that you like, you know. And sometimes when you start playing that line, it doesn't come enjoyable anymore, you know. So
there's that pressure of people are not gonna like it.
That's really the wall that I hit, you know, when I was like, I think in my early 20s or mid 20s, I was like, look, I got to stop making DJing my money job and writing music my money job, because I just want to do that for the love of it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I feel like it's controlling me, and it's not. It doesn't feel like a place I wanted to like go into.
Did you go into it like as I want to do this as a career, or did you just do it because you needed money, or like?
No, like initially it was an outlet for me. You know, I was like, you know, in my teens, I discovered it really because, you know, my dad passed away, and I was like, I needed an outlet, you know, and I discovered music, and I was just DJing and whatever all day long in my basement, but sometimes by myself even. And then, you know, as a DJ, you discover writing music, and then I turned that into a job eventually, and then I was like, I fucking hate this. And that's really where I was thinking, I need to like figure out how to learn investments, or, you know, develop some sort of financial stability so that this can become my fun job again.
Right.
So I guess that's really when, you know, in my mid-20s, I went out there and I looked for a mentor. And the first one I found was on Bigger Pockets, and, you know, it was like, I was reading his blog or whatever. I think it was called like Lifestyle of a Real Estate Investor or something.
Who is this?
His name is Wendell. I don't know if
yeah.
I don't know if he's around anymore, but yeah.
I think he disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to him, but he's, you know, during my mid-20s, I found his blog, and I was just reading like, every single day. This guy would just update, like, I did this, and this today, and I got addicted to it, and I was just like, this is so cool. I got
just like journal on the website.
Yeah, if you look on Bigger Pockets, back in the day, he would keep a journal of everything that he did. I lost a deal, I'm analyzing a deal, how I'm analyzing it, and like there were real deals apparently that he was looking at.
Remember
this shit that we already do anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like,
remember we interviewed that girl who did like 200 articles on Bigger Pockets?
yeah.
That's probably what he was doing too.
Yeah. So like he just went in there and he's like writing about it. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I Googled this dude. I'm like, oh, he's an old Asian guy. I'm gonna pull the Asian. I'm gonna pull the Asian card, you know. So I literally wrote this guy a lengthy email. I was like, look, you know, I'm a aspiring entrepreneur. I really want to learn everything that you know. You seem very, you know, well versed in this. You know, what do I got to do?
Chicago too, right?
I was like, can I come work for you? You know, I work for free. I just want to learn. And he's like, I wait a couple days. He writes me back. He's like, all right, come into my office.
Nice.
I'll interview you. So essentially, you know, he brings me into his office, you know, gives me this interview. It's one-on-one. And, you know, but at the end of the interview, he's like, look, you know, you're not really from this background, and I usually like to hire interns that are like, you know, in business.
At least know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah, but, you know, I'm over here, a music guy, and I'm asking to learn real estate. And he's like, but I'm going to trust my gut, and I'm going to teach you. I'm like, you can come and work for me. You can start tomorrow.
Nice.
So, you know, fast forward, I go in the next day, and all he makes me do is lick envelopes.
Been there, done that.
Did you walk out after an hour?
You know, something told me that I needed to. This is more of a test of anything, and it was.
That's like a test of will right there. Because I'm licking envelopes for hours.
I'm licking
test of saliva.
I did like you know, like those bandit letter or not those like mailers that people do.
Oh, yeah, we've done that. I know exactly. Dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've done like
2 hours for.
I've licked envelopes for like hours on end, so
dude,
I know exactly what you went.
So
through.
he made me fucking not only lick the envelope, but I had to write the front of the envelope. He's like, handwritten letters get better turnover.
They do.
And I'm sitting there like,
it's like 200.
wrist was.
What did we used to do? 100 an hour.
I feel
200 an hour?
I think it was an hour, 2 hours for 100.
Yeah, something like that.
Dude, so he made me lick envelopes for like a month and a half, you know?
Damn.
I was...
It's like the wax on, wax
yeah,
off. Like,
and
Fucking
and
Mr.
then so
Miyagi.
we went from exactly.
Is that the Asian stuff? Like,
exactly.
it's like, oh.
I feel like he was like, I'm going to discipline you. Well, you know what I mean?
If you can write these letters, then you can write contracts one day.
yeah, exactly. You know,
That's
he's like, you gotta earn your stripes here, you know. And I'm just like, I get it, dude. You know, like I don't belong here, but I'm gonna stick it out and you know see what I can learn from him. And you know, we went from licking envelopes to bandit signs, and he's like, look, these are why I put bandit signs out. And then he gave me a hotline. And he's like, I'm going to teach you how to negotiate.
Nice.
And so I guess I can move on to like the first deal I got. He was like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to negotiate. And once you actually get a lead, we're gonna work the lead together. And this was like 3-4 months in already. I've been licking envelopes for a while. I'm like fucking stoked. I'm like, I get one of these.
No
He's
more
like,
hand cramps.
yeah, I was like, fuck yeah. But like, you know, he's like, look, I'll give you like 15% of my profit share. And he was like, sometimes he would have like another, you know, like another partner on the deal. So I'm getting like half and then like 15% of half, you know, sometimes. And, you know, I guess moving on, the first deal we got was this lady calls me and she's like, yeah, like I really need to sell my house. Like it just recently burned down. And like,
Sure.
so we went through this whole spiel. Like I learned how to negotiate with, you know, people from that deal. He goes, all right, it's all about psychology. There's this thing called neurolinguistic programming. Yeah. I'm going to teach you everything about it. And so like, you know, he was like, one of the main things he taught me was in negotiations, you find the pain point, you find what you need, and you press that
Just
pain.
poke it.
Put the
Just
salt
keep
in it.
poking.
You press the pain. And so when I found out she was a fire burn, he was like, jot that down. You know, and he showed me like all these notes that he had, and he's like, look, we're going to go meet them. We're going to talk to them face to face, and we're going to get this house. And I was like, okay, cool. So we drive out the next day, go to the south side of Chicago, we meet this family. House is burnt the fuck down. Like
bad or just like a little bit?
She's selling the land.
like the motherfucking gas
there?
tank or something exploded. Like it was bad.
Did anyone die?
No. So the family lost their everything.
No, I've seen houses where I made offers on houses that people died in.
Damn, bro. But I mean, like that's more pain,
No,
right?
that's yeah.
So like we get to this fire burnt house and this family, you know, is like in front and I'm like seeing the kids and shit. Like they're like talking to me about the shit they lost and I'm like, oh fuck, like this is actually kind of upsetting. And Wendell's like, it's all good. Just don't show any emotion. Just walk through the house. And then when you're done walking through the house, no matter what it looks like, pretend like it's the worst house you've ever seen.
Wow.
And this house,
that probably wasn't too hard.
yeah, this house was the worst house I've ever seen.
You
It
don't have to
smelled like
pretend.
shit. Like, yeah, I was like, all right, this fucking sucks. So, you know, we end up at the end of the thing. They're like, you know, like, what do you want for? Like, we're like, what do you guys want for it? They're like, we'll take like 5,000.
Yeah,
and then like his reaction to it was so funny. He's just like, yeah, I don't know about that. We're gonna call you back. And so he's like, this is strategic, right? We're gonna let them sleep on it, and they feel like we don't want it. So the next day we call and we're like, okay, look, you guys already have your insurance claim on it. You know, we're willing to let you guys walk away from this property, you know, for nothing. Like, we want to take it off your hands. Is that okay with you guys? And it's like, you know, I guess you're right. Like, it's fine. You guys can have it. And so we literally got the house for $1.
Oh shit.
So like I was like so fucking stoked. Like I was like, fuck yeah. He's like, congratulations, kid. I just taught you how to get a house for $1.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we put it under contract, got a 6.0 contract on it, wrote $1, they signed it over, and then we flipped the contract for $5,000 later the next week. So I was like, you know, that was my introduction to real estate and wholesaling, I guess.
It's pretty savage.
How you doing?
Yeah, totally.
He was pretty good. I mean, before he disappeared.
Super.
And all,
yeah, I mean,
he's a great guy.
psychologically, he knew how to negotiate, you know, and I learned a lot just through just hanging around somebody who's been in business for so long.
And you just kept hanging out with him and working for him for a while?
Yeah, totally. So I worked with him for about 2 years. You know, after that deal, you know, we started getting into flips. He would show me like Excel documents, how to like analyze properties, and then, you know, he had a contractor on the board too, and he would just be like, look, you're going out and you're inspecting properties for another 2 months, and then every day I would just go see properties all day long and just look for foundation issues, roofing issues, all the gamut of shit you're looking for. And yeah, essentially we would, you know, go through the learning process, and then, you know, he would let me project manage his flips for, you know, a good year or two after a while. And then, you know, from wholesaling to flipping, we did that for about 1.5 years. And then after that, we got into, he was like, look, now it's time for you to learn how to talk to big money. And then, you know, that kind of segues into how I got into hard money lending. Cause like the moment you get into, you know, locking in millions of dollars, you're like, all right, where do I go from here? Do I start my own firm, or like,
Yeah.
do I get into lending? And essentially what ended up happening was he would host these seminars and he would have me speak. And I guess the one thing he would have me teach is, okay, how do you get a house for $1? Nobody, like, not a lot of people can say they've done that. So he's letting me teach that. And then we ended up meeting this investor from Cyprus who was like, he flew in to the seminar, and like, he was not the first international investor that came to us, but like, he flew in there and was like, okay, I'm interested in investing with you guys. And then he would let me sit in on that meeting. So me and Wendell, I'm watching him work this dude, and he's just like, yeah, like, what do you want? Like, on the other side, he's like, when you have investors, you take care of them. They're the most important thing on the planet because they feel your business.
Yeah.
So, we basically show this guy how we assess risk. At the end of the conversation, he's like, okay, you got to lock this guy in. So you got to get coffee with him tomorrow. So, I talked to this investor. I forgot his name. I think it was like Murat or something, like something crazy. But like
Meerkat?
Yeah, Meerkat or something. Like, yeah, he like, we have a conversation at a coffee shop, and I'm explaining to him, what our investment style is. And at that time, we had just started launching a lending firm as well. And he wanted me to ask him if he wanted to be the bank. And so this guy goes, hell yeah, I'll be the bank. There's no risk to me if I'm the bank. And he's like, I'll give you guys $1 million tomorrow. And so
Nice.
That was the first time I've ever raised money. And I guess, the point of that is when you're dealing with large investors, like big whales, they care about how you're going to protect their money. They don't care about the profits. More than the profits, actually. I mean, the numbers make sense for them. But, if you can hit 15% and show them that there's no risk, anyone will give you money.
So you guys are just putting together a fund?
Yeah, correct. So Wendell and I were thinking, we're like, okay, we're doing flips, we're doing wholesaling. What else can we do? Essentially what, you guys are segueing to right now, but, we were like, we need to do something else too. We need to be the bank because they're the ones with the money. So,
it's a lot less work too.
Yeah, totally. You write the note and you wait.
You just get on to write it well, but yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, and
Then
so
you service the loan too?
Yeah, correct. Well, we were trying to be a one-stop shop for everything,
Nice.
We had a bunch of newbies, and, he was trying to be this conglomerate of flipping. And so, we wanted to start a lending business, and, this is where, quote-unquote, HHS Capital came about. And, I helped him literally start that company from the ground up, created the branding and everything.
Do you have to put together like a fund or like SEC rules and all that stuff?
So you definitely have to put together a fund. When you're dealing with sophisticated investors, it's a little bit different than, say, doing FHA stuff. There's less regulation. So all you really need to do is make sure you're developing guidelines that are good enough for your investors, and then, continuing to meet those guidelines and then originating with an attorney or something to make sure the notes make sense. So I guess moving forward, I had launched this company. Like I had learned everything that I could possibly learn with this mentor that I had. I probably spent like a year and a half over there. And then I started a company from the ground up with him, as guiding me to start HHS Capital. So at that time, I'm like, he's like, okay, cool. At HHS Capital, you can do all the work, and then I get to keep half of the profits. So in my mind, I'm like,
good deal.
I was like, at first I was like, yeah, but like, I'm smart now. I'm not just the new kid on the block. I'm like, it's time for me to go fly, bro. So I'm like, okay, you can run HHS Capital. I know how to raise the money.
Just go through it on your own.
I had the institutional contacts, so I'm like, I'm starting my own shit. And, that's really where, I got into Ridgeway Financial. I started my own thing, and, I've been focused on that ever since.
Why Ridgeway? Do you live in Ridgeway?
So when I left HHS Capital, I was like, okay, if Wendell's not going to give me more than half, I'm leaving, right? So I leave, I start my own thing, and I was like, what should I name this thing? I was like, branding is important. So I need something that sounds old and banky. So I was dating this chick, and I'm like, what block did you grow up on? She goes, Ridgeway Lane, and I was like, Ridgeway Financial. Bing!
We just sold a property on Ridgeway.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like, oh, I've heard that name before. I'm like, yeah, it's the most generic street name, you know?
What was it, like Wolf of Wall Street was like
Oakmont. Yeah, it's something like think about like, you know.
That's what we named Park Place, Park Place.
Yeah, it's like, think about, you want something
Monopoly.
kind of familiar and like, you know, old in a way.
Because you get immediate, sounds like you're established off the bat with no experience.
Park Place, everyone has heard it because everybody has played Monopoly.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost psychological. You're like, Ridgeway, I feel like I've heard of them before, you know? Like Washington Mutual.
Matt wants things to be like illiterate. Right?
Alliterated.
But we're talking about the lending company. I'm like, why don't we just call it Boardwalk Capital? You know, like
totally.
the most expensive card in Monopoly. He's like, that doesn't alliterate, but it sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like as long as it sounds safe and like, you know, people are going to send sensitive information to you. Just make sure the branding is correct.
Right, of course. So did you go on your own, like completely on your own?
Completely on my own for Ridgeway. I had to put everything from the ground up, you know, develop lender contacts. And, you know, we honestly started off branding for it. And I basically took the investment contacts that I had, you know, from working with investors and newbies. And I was like, hey, I'm starting my own thing. I got all these contacts. Come on to my firm and I'll cut your points down in half and yada, yada, yada.
Oh, snap.
So they're like, fuck yeah, we're all for it. So like my first deal, I locked in like $12K in like broker fees or whatever. I was like, this is sick. And I don't have any risk.
What were you borrowing the money at?
I forgot. It was like a fund out of California or something. It was
like the percentage.
I think it depends on experience. So the investors that I was talking to at the time were doing... That guy was getting like 9.5 or something like that. He was doing 50 flips a year, but like I had like sold him a wholesale property, and I like texted him. I was like, "Hey, I got my own firm now. What are you paying for points?" And I like cut it in half, and then he just so happened to have $1 million deal on the deck.
Awesome.
So I'm like, all right. I'm like, yeah, I'll make a point off that. It was like 1.2 million. It's like 12K right there, you know. So
you were charging him 9%.
No. So when you originate a mortgage, there's 9.5% to whoever is funding the note.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So, you know, the institutional grade investor or the whale that you have that's, you know, funding most of the deal, they get the 9%. Typically, the arrangement is I'm keeping the front end deal. So, like at closing, they're going to pay me for introducing that contact, or you know,
to get the points.
Yeah, correct, for underwriting or anything like that we're doing.
And the interest is just passed through. And
correct. Sometimes you can work out deals where you make back end points too. Really depends on what sort of relationships you have with the investors that you want.
Because I thought it was more like you borrow it from somebody at 6% and you go back and lend it out at like 12.
So, you know, it's up to you how you want to structure it.
It's kind of like whatever you want.
Yeah, it could be a pass through. You can have your own fund. You know, it depends. You could structure it any number of ways.
You could do both. Charge points up front and then charge a little
Yeah,
more
like
interest.
for example, when I was setting up HHS Capital, we had met with a small local bank that was going to hypothecate our notes. So anything that we would have originated in-house, what we could have done is went to the bank and been like, here's a tranche of $5 million, and we've lent it out at these terms. How about you give us another $5 million and we'll take it at 2% because there's a real estate asset on this. And then we can lend another tranche. And that's really where the money's made in lending.
Nice.
Hypothecation.
And you've been doing that for how long now? Since 09, 12?
No. I've been lending for like 2-3 years probably.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a lot. For some reason, I thought it was a lot earlier than that.
No.
I mean, I met you like 2 or 3 years. I probably met you 3 years ago when you were with Wendell.
Yeah, so with Wendell, it was a good 2 years.
Wait, you were there too.
I went to that meeting.
It was
really?
it was in like a basement. And,
dude, that was
it wasn't Downers. I think it was Downers Grove. Maybe.
No one fit in the office.
Yeah.
It was like, why is this?
So you had to sit at the door.
No, he actually would close like 10 deals a month, and like he's buying assets left and right. But he was so cheap, like Warren Buffett cheap. Like, well, that's why you do
Greg
this.
Doesn't listen to the podcast, so like, yeah,
like you know,
our managing broker is
it's okay
so
though.
cheap.
We need that balance, or else we'll spend all the money.
You can't honestly you need to have someone cheap. If someone's cheap, they're gonna take care of your money because
that's what you want.
They're not spending it on anything,
Right.
you know. But if if you want all the bells and whistles, dude, you don't want that guy being your asset
It's just
manager.
about compromising, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's a time and place for it, I guess. You know, you gotta have fun too, right?
So if somebody wants to start, I guess,
a
fund or a hard money company,
Yeah,
what would your advice for them to do?
The best thing to do is obviously try to network with as many institutional grade investors as you can.
What do you mean by institutional?
So I'm talking private equity, hedge fund, large high net worth individuals, and just accumulating, those contacts. In addition to, trying to find the clients that you're looking to do and thinking about how you're going to be approaching them.
So you're going for more people that have like 5 million, a million,
correct.
10 million.
Yeah,
Instead of like people have like 500 grand and putting like a 50-person fund together. You want
correct.
Like 3 or 4.
Yeah, you don't. If I find that like the smaller the bank account, the more they're going to call you. So if they have 50K and they're giving you 50K,
they're going to call you
dude,
every other day.
Every fucking day they're going to be like, so where we at? Because it means a lot. But if you have $30 million in your account, it's not even your money, it's just something you manage. Yeah. But all you care about is my return on investment. You're going to call you quarterly. They're not going to ask about it every single day. And all you got to do is make sure you're taking care of the fiduciary duties. And sometimes you can even have lenders that are in your pocket, and it's almost like they're the hedge fund. They can assist you with some of the guidelines and stuff that they need, and then you get to a point where I can present borrowers to you that you want, and then everybody wins.
All right, so let's go back to how do they start a fund?
Developing a lending business is about having all the pieces of the puzzle together, right? So money, underwriting, servicing, and then the borrowers in front of that, and then that's really it. Those are all the pieces to get it together.
And then, so you've been doing that for 2 or 3 years. Like, how's it going so far?
Honestly, it's been really great. Every single year, what's great about it is, your investors typically are coming back. Once you have a system that works for them, it's just, just make sure the terms look good, and then they're going to call you because it's a bitch to put documents together for a new guy. I guess the trick for my company is really in, I try to make it, the first hurdle is the worst, and then after that, it's like, yo, text me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's almost like having your friend. It's like, hey, text me, and then I need some money, and then I'll tell you the terms, and then we'll send the docs out.
Do you only lend in Illinois, or do you lend somewhere else?
No, I lend across the nation. So I think I'm moving into New Mexico heavily this year. I have a lot of investors that recently came out. I did Florida.
Why New Mexico?
Honestly, because just so happens my marketing's hitting over there for some reason. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe they just like the name Ridgeway.
And then where did the restaurant come from? How did that come about?
So the restaurant was actually a pretty interesting situation. So I had learned of this location in Andersonville that was looking to sell. And I was thinking, I've never flipped a business. So I wanted to try to flip a business,
Fucking Marcos and Monos or what?
Yeah, right. I went in there and I was like, this restaurant's kind of cool. And I was like, okay, I have a good chef in mind. And he was willing to be my partner. And so I was like, fuck it. I'm going to raise the money for this thing and see what happens. So
what kind of restaurants is it?
It's a fusion restaurant. So we do like steak, seafood, and like fine dining, but we have like an Asian twist. So you might see like, for example, we have like a lobster curry risotto.
Interesting.
That's not something you would typically see on like a Thai restaurant menu or
What is it called?
Blue 57. It's in Andersonville. We did.
What was the dessert that you had? That was really good. So went to the opening.
Oh, we have a tiramisu with like Jameson whiskey on it.
I think it's like an ice cream mango thing.
Oh yeah. So we actually had a mango, and it's like a mango. It's like a mango sorbet, I think.
Yeah.
And then literally like she makes it out of fresh mango like every single day, and like we make our own ice cream. We don't buy third party. We're sourcing like our seafood comes in from the coast every day. So I guess it was like when opening the restaurant, I was just kind of like, how do you develop? You have to develop a vision, obviously, for it. And then the one thing I learned opening that business is that it's not the same as the finance industry or investments or whatever. Because when you're talking about like running a customer service front, it's so much bitch work. Like it's back to KFC.
So you ended up back at it.
Yeah, but
except that you own it.
Yeah, I own it, but it's just as much work if if you have to manage it as well. Because.
So how do you have that structured? Like, do you put a lot of time in there, or do you have like a manager there? Like,
yeah. So at first I was very hands-on. I wanted to be, in the trenches, quote unquote, every single day. But after a while, I'm just like, this is like a lot of bitch work. I have to focus on my other companies, and it's taking away from that. It's, when you think about opening a brick and mortar business, it's not so much about your hard work or what you like, it's your customers. And because you have to deal with so many different personalities, like your employees, the people that come in and dine, your chefs, it can be very, very stressful.
It's like babysitting.
Totally. Management is babysitting for adults, and you can quote me on that. You're like,
There's also servers. I mean, they usually...
Totally. It's fucking... You're dealing with people that are, they don't have initiative sometimes, and it's a little bit of annoying, being the owner, and you're like, please show up on time, or
at all,
or show up.
Be nice to the customer.
Please show up not drunk.
Yeah, they're always correct. Yeah, I had some people show up sometimes, like kind of like half hungover, like they haven't slept. I'm like, I was a fucking DJ. I know what this looks like. Just going in the bathroom,
How did that opportunity come about? You just happened to wanted to open up a restaurant, and
like I said before, I was in hospitality. In my early teens and 20s. My first job was KFC, but then I went into like TGI Fridays, and I was hosting and doing like service stuff most of my life, and then. I eventually was managing a fine dining restaurant in my early 20s. It was like one of the best Thai restaurants in the city. And then that's really where I learned, what it takes to open a restaurant. My family owned a restaurant when I was like a little kid. So I think back to like my childhood. I used to pick up phones for my mom at a restaurant when I was 13, And so it's kind of like where that seed probably got inception into my mind. And then the opportunity came up, and I had learned how to raise capital, and I was like, fuck it.
Just to do a restaurant?
I'm like, let me see what happens,
How long have you been open now?
So that restaurant's been open for, I think we're on our second year. Well, I've been lending for more than if the restaurant's been open for 2 years. We're in our second year. I've been lending for like almost 4 years now, probably.
Why Andersonville?
Just the location was there.
Nice.
I could get it for a good price, and the renovation budget kind of met what I had in mind. And I was like, okay, cool. Like the numbers make sense.
It's a good neighborhood.
It's developing.
A lot of foot traffic.
Totally, yeah. It's like it's an up and coming neighborhood. It's not like scary, And
it's by the lake.
Yeah, and so the restaurant opened, and one of our like regulars is the chick that shot The Matrix.
Really?
No way.
Yeah. What's her name? Like Lana Wachowski. Well, he was a guy, and then now he's a girl. Good, long story, but yeah. So like I remember like the first time I saw her there, and I was like, holy shit, like that's the Matrix chick. Like I've seen her before. So I'm like, my server's like, yeah, that's the chick that she's a producer from the Matrix, and apparently they have a studio out there, and like
just comes in
she
there.
loves she brings her family like all the time. So
that's awesome.
Then what are your plans for the restaurant? Like, you gonna own it for a while? Are you gonna expand more?
So that for me, if you were to ask me what I want to do moving forward. No more restaurants. Why? Because it's way too many personalities. It's when I come from a background of lending and real estate, it's I'd rather just one and done, pocket the money, move on to the next deal, rather than you have to nurture a lot of stuff. It's a lot of care, and
would finding the right manager help out with it?
No,
you still have to manage.
Well, still at the end of the day, like yes, a good manager should be able to do it, but as an owner, a lot of times you have to like. You got to keep an eye on it, and it's the phone conversations are never just okay. Well, this is what went right all the time. It's a lot of like, okay, well, this person did this and this and this, and you're like, as an owner, you want to hear that, but it's annoying.
But it's like high school all over again.
You know what's the worst part about owning a restaurant? Fucking Yelp.
Yeah.
Those people are the worst.
Because like no matter what, you can't get away from it. You're gonna have to like you're curious to see like, okay, where are we at? Luckily we're like still over 4.5 stars, but like I'm sitting there like. When I was first reading, the first time I got a bad review, I was like, fuck you, dude. I was like, we worked our ass off to like develop this menu. My chef's been in school, like he's been in the finest hotels, and you just don't understand.
Those Yelp reviews are crazy, man. I have one of my favorite restaurants that I go to. It had one bad review, and it said, the food is great. I love the place, but they put too much food in just one box. So I'm gonna give it.
Why'd you give me so much food?
So I'm gonna give it 3 stars because my to-go box was too full. Are you fucking kidding?
Dude? See, like
3 stars.
But as an owner, you have to you almost feel personally offended because you're putting your soul into developing these things. So you're like,
and people don't read the reviews; they just look at the amount of stars. Yeah. So she said the place was great, the food was great, but still 3 stars. But, like I was baffled.
So you know what I found out? The algorithm for Yelp actually promotes the bad reviews because you can. So what they'll do, it's extortion, by the way. They'll call you and they'll be like, "Hey, you can pay to get these bad reviews off." So literally, like if you're promoting the bad reviews, and then they actually have the ability to like suppress good reviews too if they think they're fake. So like you can't even like ask your friends to like your page or whatever for 5 stars without their algorithm pushing it down.
So they push the bad reviews up. Just so they can ask you for money to take them down.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you have advertising with them, then they might preference you. It's like it's extortion from what I understand, you know. But these are the things that happen in that ecosystem where if you're listening and you're thinking, I want to open a bakery, fuck that idea. Go find something else. Go trade stocks. You can, if you look at you know the things that you could teach yourself that make the most money, stock trading is the one thing that you can spend time on, and if you do it right, it's the quickest way out. You know, you don't have to buy a house. You just you can start with I've seen people start with $3,000, turn it into $100,000. You know, so it really just depends on.
So what's your best advice for like someone that's get started in stocks? Like where to start, what to do, like how to learn it?
You know, you got to be addicted to knowledge, and you got to not be afraid to, and you got to be disciplined. With stocks, greed is your.
It's like gambling.
Yeah, it's kind of.
You gotta know when to pull out.
It's kind of like gambling, exactly. But
He's so immature.
You guys are so good.
Immature.
God,
You laugh first.
come on.
You don't pull out, you get
He
in
even
big
stopped
trouble.
what he was doing just to look at me. And
So
smile.
no matter what, in any scenario,
It'll take you years to come back.
you got to pull out on time. So, I think the best thing to do if you're looking to get into stocks is, read and then practice. You can go on any trading site and sign up for a paper trading account. You only really need to trade. You only need to analyze overnight and then enter your trades the next day. And you can set alerts so that when something pings, you can, okay, this is a good opportunity to buy. And then, develop your own strategy so that, someone else isn't telling you what to do. You came to that conclusion on your own. And then that way, whenever the market shifts, you can come to a different conclusion and shift with it.
Okay.
Because, if you go to like a guru session, they're going to teach you one way to do something. And then
their way to do it.
Yeah, and it might not necessarily be something that your personality works with. So put it in perspective, if you're a day trader, sometimes you're trading within 10 seconds, you can make $1,000. You're like, click, 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 click. But also you can lose 1,000 in seconds. But if you have the personality to where you can tolerate that and you're like, click, 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 and like, you're fucking killing it, you can make a killing. I've seen people make 10,000 a day, just.
What are some good resources for somebody that might want to get into stock trading?
So I really enjoyed those like introductory stock trading books. So like you want to try to develop your own like thesis, right? So understanding what stocks are, why the market's moving, what a bullish market is, or bullish is like up and bear is like down, and then understanding the fundamentals, and then get into technicals afterwards, because the two really work together. Technical analysis is just looking at the charts for patterns, and then when you see a pattern, you're getting in and then getting out at a certain time. And then, it's all about, it's like playing a video game that's just really hard to get started. Once you fucking get started, it's like you wake up, you play a little bit of video games, you make money. So.
Nice. And what's your thoughts on the stock market just took a huge plunge.
I made money.
A few weeks ago.
It's back up.
I made money on the plunge.
Because after it goes down and you buy it all?
No, I shorted it. So like whenever, I was seeing sentiment like, okay, the market's topping off and, it's not feeling like it's going to get any higher. A lot of the news is bad. And I'm like, okay, I watched this ETF. An ETF is like a group of stocks that shorts the market. So whenever the market goes down, it goes up. So I just bought that one, and then when it went down, I just wrote it down.
What do you think is going to happen with Amazon now that Jeff Bezos just announced his divorce?
So, I'm sorry for Jeff, by the way. He lost $160 billion at the stroke of a pen. So,
or half of that.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what he lost. His wife is getting that. He's still worth a bunch of money, but like, I think Amazon, as long as he's still CEO, it's not going to be affected.
Right.
Hopefully she doesn't take a bunch of the shares or something. But
he's not like Elon Musk.
Yeah. Elon Musk is a nutcase, though.
I mean, as soon as you saw him go on the Joe Rogan show, you should have shorted that.
Yeah,
because he was going to say something stupid.
Well, I try not to trade the news too much. I look for like trends. So like my biggest strategy for trading is, okay, is the market in an uptrend? If so, I look for the dips and then I ride it up for various companies. And I also look for like moving averages, like it's a math equation that you can kind of use. And then I'm not going to get into too much of that. It's going to be like a whole educational course, but. I try to ride the trend. If it's going up, I ride it up. If it's going down, I try to ride it down.
What are some books? I know you mentioned some, but I don't know if you actually got into like the
find
names.
The titles off. Most of them are like day trader lifestyle or something.
Didn't you say that he had didn't you have like a resource?
Yeah, I have a library. Yeah, I have a library update. I can send it to you guys if you guys want to post it.
No, is it online?
It's online. It's in a Google Drive that I uploaded everything.
So there's not like an actual link.
No, yeah, I can link you guys. I shared the link.
We'll put it on the notes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you guys are listening, you can check it out. I'll give you guys a link. And there's swing trading books, day trading books, psychology books for trading and everything in there. You know, the world is your playground, and then it's all about just applying it. And, you know, you could use YouTube as an educational resource if you want to.
What do you think about crypto?
Crypto to me I was a rooter against it, man. I mean, I was like, okay, yeah, it's anytime there's hype around something, you can make money, but you can also lose it very quickly too, because there's a bubble that's created.
Like
off
all
of
the people that got a second mortgage on their house and bought
fucking
Bitcoin
lost it. Yeah,
when
man.
it was like 20,000.
That's you know.
Then you have the people that like bought a bunch, go on vacation, come back 5 weeks later, and it's like
Gone.
We
triple.
knew a guy that bought it a long time ago, went on vacation at the end of the year or whatever it was, and he came back and he was worth like
Gone.
No.
No,
That's when he got it on the swing up
It was like 1 million to 5 million, like
in like 2
3
weeks.
Wow.
So it was like
crazy.
right before last December, you know, when it like hit. When it hit like 20,000.
So he came
of
back from
Bitcoin.
vacation. It was like millionaire. Like
Yeah.
He
multi-millionaire,
wanted to buy
like
3
overnight.
houses from us, like in Bitcoin, and then 2 days later is when it like plunged from 20 to 12,
And it's
Oh
like,
my-
never mind.
and
like-
then we didn't hear from him for like 5 weeks.
So
till it
like
back up.
whenever it's really speculative like that, you got to watch this shit every day. And the moment you send something in the market, you get the fuck out, and then you move to something like real estate or, you know, something more brick and mortar or stocks. And even stocks are really volatile. You know, like you can lose your life in a second. You know, and so you got to be careful with anything that's volatile.
So you just recently got into cannabis, CBD oil, or
Yeah, so you know, I guess my journey through the years has been, you know, developing different skills on how to develop businesses, right? So right now I'm at the point in my life where, you know, I know how to raise money, I know how to think big. I'm like, look, I tried the small thing, I tried the restaurant. I'm like, let me think about, you know, economics and what I can get into that's a bigger market, right? So, you know, recently hemp and marijuana are on a trajectory of becoming fully legal. As of last month in December, hemp is a fully legal plant. You know, like you can sell and trade hemp, you know, within state lines, and you know, I think about
federally.
Yeah, correct. So I'm thinking anytime in history where something goes from illegal to legal, there's a boom. And the more I started researching, the more I started seeing dollar signs, right? So when I look at you know, some of the analysts that are you know, promoting hemp, they're saying, you know, they're predicting that in 2018 hemp is going to be a $615 million industry, and by 2022 it's going to be a $22 billion industry. So like that rocket is about to go off, and it starts this year. So
Because it just became fully legal in Canada, right?
yeah, no, it's in America. So hemp is fully legal. And what people don't know is that hemp can be used in auto parts, in real estate, in houses.
Literally everything.
Yeah, exactly. You can make hemp oil, you know, paper, hempcrete.
Clothes.
Yeah, and it's biodegradable, so it's a green option for a lot of these other plastics that are out there and whatever. And so, you know, what I'm thinking is, okay, how do I get in on this boom? You know, like CBD alone is going to be a $22 billion industry, not just hemp. So I'm targeting specifically CBD. So I'm like, okay, I need to sell raw materials, I need to make an industrial site and sell raw materials to, you know, basically every single company out there that's selling CBD. So, you know, I'm working right now on, you know, opening an extraction site. So what an extraction site is you take the plant and you turn it into powder, and the powder is raw CBD. And so my ethos behind that is okay, when Victoria's Secret and Target start stocking CBD on their shelves, and we start seeing CBD enter everyday life, it's only going to be, you know, there's going to be a demand for a large-scale processor that can, you know, extract CBD and sell to the major corporations. And
Because they usually come up with their own brand anyway, so they got to buy the raw material.
So they got to buy, yeah, exactly. So think about being the Rockefellers, and, you know, you're selling oil for the first time. This is another rush. It's CBD. And then by having an extraction site, you know, you're the middleman. You get to sell the raw materials to all these like product makers, and you get to see what products get developed. And my growth strategy for that is going to be, okay, I'm going to see who's buying the most of this stuff. I'm going to buy their company when, you know, I see what they're doing. I'm just raising more money. And so I'm actually in my final stage of running. I'm actually looking right now, and I have a private equity group engaged. Got an LOI as of yesterday, and they're committing potentially $25 million into launching this thing, and they're going to fully fund the project. So I have I have to go to Philadelphia on Monday actually to look at a potential site.
Nice. That's awesome.
yeah, it's fucking, like I said, the journey's been crazy, but it's all about developing these skills over time and then thinking big, and then one day the big idea actually works, so.
Yeah. We're getting into the questions now.
Sure.
Just drum up some like entrepreneurial type of like answers, because especially if you've got 5 different businesses that you can apply your experience to.
Yeah, I'll do like some sort of vague answers or something. Yeah.
Oh no, you can do whatever you want. Like pick which one comes up the most. But
sure.
To what do you attribute your success?
Honestly, it's all about just not taking no for an answer. Like you got to just go out there. Anything you want to learn can be, acquired on the internet. If you want to find somebody, you want to learn something, go tell somebody you want to work for them for free, and you'll learn everything you need to learn. It's like yes, I went to school, but I didn't learn shit in school. Like most of the knowledge I've obtained has been just side by side next to a mentor.
Self-education.
Yeah, exactly. Just working with people that know what they're doing in this. Like they know how to play the game, and then you can learn those same skills and then apply it yourself. And then it's just about not accepting that you're going to be somebody's slave.
It's actual applicable knowledge, not just like a bunch of theory, and you're probably going to use like a tenth of.
Yeah, exactly. Like Pythagorean theorem, I still haven't fucking used that shit. Like I'm like, why did we even learn this shit, man? Teach it to the guy that likes Pythagorean theorem, and he's trying to like develop a rocket ship, right?
Don't
teach to the
kid. That is.
It's like fucking like the triangle geometry bullshit.
What was the worst piece of advice that you ever got?
The worst piece of advice I ever got. Wow, that's a tough one.
Get a job.
Yeah,
that was mine.
Honestly, actually, when I got into DJing, my family like disowned me from a trust fund and everything. Yeah,
like literally. Like,
yeah, like literally.
Like legally.
Like legally, yeah. So yeah, my aunt was the inheritance of my dad's will, and the moment she found out I was a musician, I got cut off from everything. So like, I literally had to start from ground zero by myself. I've been evicted before. Shit. Like,
is that like what is just like dishonorable to do that as a profession?
Dude, you're not a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. Like you're getting cut off. Yeah, you're a fucking DJ. I'm like, well, fuck you. I'm playing the dopest clubs now, and I know. I know more about business and life now than if I were to go to school and get a job or whatever.
Because the odds of actually making it as a DJ are pretty small, so it's
totally like. Well, I've got to play like EDC and like a bunch of festivals from it. For that, it's really just about like focusing on your craft and just making sure that whatever brand you're developing is the strongest brand out there, and then eventually people are going to be like, dude, this guy's good. Like
where do you DJ now?
So I DJ at Soundbar. They book me at Prism all the time. The Mid is closing, but I used to play there a lot too, and come on in time.
What's your avatar?
Animale.
Yeah,
I used to throw these parties called the Animale parties, and then we would just redecorate Spy Bar as like a jungle, and then I was just like, well, this is my DJ name now because it's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you had the chance to start over, what would you do differently?
I would definitely like to discover knowledge and the power of knowledge sooner. When I was a kid, I was fucking playing video games and whatever, and I was just like, I don't need to do books or whatever. But the moment you realize that like the power is in the words, like the world is your playground. After that, like you can literally do anything you want.
What living or dead person other than family members do you most admire?
Living or dead people, huh? I've always been a fan of like the old like entrepreneurs of the past. So like, the Carnegies and the Rockefellers of those days, like they're cutthroat, man. Like they fucking got it. Yeah. But they thought big enough and they went out there and they didn't take no for an answer. And like back then they were like cracking the whip and,
like just imagine you have no fucking resources, or you have to actually go out there and find your own stuff.
Yeah, you have
to meet people in person. There's no internet.
Bust your ass. There's no internet. There's no email.
Knowledge-wise, like you actually gotta. I don't know. It's like when you think about it, it's just like, how the hell did they even get stuff done?
Yeah, totally.
Like just to go meet somebody, you gotta take a carriage for like fucking 3 hours.
I'm gonna go see.
And you might die on the way.
Yeah, no phone. Could you imagine that shit? I send a letter with a pigeon. Yeah, a pigeon.
That's probably why they got one thing right, because they could only focus on one thing instead of doing like a bunch of different stuff. It's like, I'm just gonna do this for my entire life.
Yeah, totally. But dude, their families now are like the wealthiest families.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, it's like nuts.
Yeah, once you get that past that hump of like $5-10 million, it's way easier. That's like the threshold for like raising and making money. It's like dude, $5 million, and you can literally just go to anybody, like your boys, and be like, I got $5 million, I got $5 million. You're even the friendships that you typically have are going to be bigger at that point too.
Oh yeah, just who you associate with.
Yeah.
Have you ever turned down a client? Let's go with for a DJ and for hard money lender as like.
So
customers.
I turn down clients all the time, man. Like if they make me play shit I don't want to play, I don't fucking DJ because it's fun for me. It's not my money job anymore. You know, I'm like, I mean, yeah, I play at the clubs that pay the most now, but you know, like I've had clubs like ask me and they're like, yeah, so like, can you play for like $150 an hour? I was sitting there like, dude, come on, like really? Like you guys fly in guys from out of town to play the same shit and they don't even write their music and you pay them 10 times that amount. The least you could do is give me that, you know, so.
For borrowers for hard money.
Oh yeah, I get it all the time. So the trick for hard money is make sure, you know, you have money to begin with, because if you have a little bit of money or access to it, you can get any funding you want. You know, collateral is the key for that. I turn down clients all the time.
This guy have no money. Can I get some? You're like, no.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing is like Bigger Pockets is notorious for this, by the way. Hey, so we really want to get into real estate. We love flipping houses. And I'm like, oh, amazing. So like how much money you got? So we have a 400 FICO and we don't have any money. I'm like, how about you go out, you go find some money. Call up every family member you have and just, if they don't have it, tell them to recommend you somebody.
So what are you guys' requirements when you're somebody comes and wants to borrow for money from Ridgeway?
So typically, sometimes we can go to like 500, but 620 and above is really ideal. And then we want to see at least 15% of the project costs come out of pocket. A lot of times you can kind of hedge that if you have good contractors. They might be able to front some of the work. But yeah, really 15% is a good number to run with.
It's not bad.
What is your best hiring tip or secret for being a restaurant owner?
Ooh, okay. You know, I actually make people take personality tests. So, you know,
DISC test?
Yeah, like, you know, I'll take a look and see, like, you want somebody who's hungry for it. You know, you obviously experience is great. A balance between the two. You don't want too green, obviously, because if they're like really new, you have to train them like really crazily.
What is one thing that you find to be true that most people would disagree with?
Let's see. One thing that I find to be true that most people would disagree with. What have other people said? I'm having trouble with that one.
It's basically like something that you believe that's like
somebody went into
like that's not true. Like
vaccines.
Oh,
just like crazy. That was like the most off the wall that we've had. He didn't. I
guess I have radical views on love and marriage and stuff. I don't believe in marriage. You know,
yeah, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, essentially. Like I feel like marriage is a dying thing. You know, we're like, think about the connections that we constantly have. Like our phones, we're now texting hundreds of people a day. And when we're having relationships, we're developing relationships with thousands of people every single year. Yeah. And so it really doesn't make sense to have, you know, a single marriage. You know, I think it's like most people in marriages I feel like are in a constant state of dismay of like, oh, I'm stuck here. You know, I don't know. You can love multiple people. I'm weird like that.
If you had one piece of advice to someone just starting out, what would it be?
Excuse me?
If you had one piece of advice to someone just starting out,
so my one piece of advice would be to run your due diligence when you're about to put money down on something and double, triple check your numbers, and then have somebody you don't know that's in this industry triple check your numbers, and then, you know, just make sure that every dime that you spend, it's almost the most important money to you. It's like, you know, blood money. Make sure that you're not going to lose it.
What habits helped make you successful?
I guess just being really motivated, and then I think risk assessment is something I pride myself on. You know, I'm always like obtaining knowledge and making sure like every T is crossed and every I is there, and you know, I'm all for, hey, everybody check my work. You know, pick it apart. Do
you have a morning routine? Like how often,
I do actually.
How often? How many times a week do you DJ? Is your morning routine sleeping?
So on the weekends, I think of myself as like a split personality. It's like that's animale. You don't talk to Jay on the weekends, so it's something else. On the weekends, I'm like, anytime I can get up from a night of going out, I get up and I just kind of relax. It's a day of zen for me. But during the week, I try to get up at around 7 or 8 o'clock. Do some pre-market analysis. Obviously make breakfast, but like I add meditation to the day every single morning. I guess it's something that a lot of people don't add, but I find that meditation, even if it's like 10 minutes, it's almost like as entrepreneurs, we're constantly thinking, like constantly. Every little thing is on our minds. If you meditate and you just focus on breathing for just 10 minutes, it wipes your mind clean. And after that 10 minutes, it's almost like, you feel like the weight of the world has been lifted off your shoulders and you get to start the day fresh. And that's really why I do that.
Nice.
What is your favorite failure? Did you have one that set you up for future success?
I want to say my favorite failure is going to be the restaurant's not a failure. It's like kicking in alive, but it's just so stressful. I've learned so much about it because it's like all of the ends that you have to tie up as a restaurant owner and as someone who deals with customer service. I guess that's one of my biggest lessons is that. And then I guess I don't really have anything else other than that. Like, I feel like that's like the biggest one.
Why do you do what you do? What gets you through the tough times?
Really, it's about, just kind of working through it. You never panic. You just kind of think of a plan and just execute it. I'm very logically run. So like, I don't want to say I'm not passionate, but like I try to analyze stuff. And then as soon as there's a problem, we think about what we have and then develop a plan around it to get to the end point.
Nice. And then, where can people find you if they want to get a hold of you for, I guess, anything?
All of them.
Yeah. If you want to book me as a DJ, you can contact my agent, Music Life Management. His name is Rudy. Or you can go to my Facebook, facebook.com/I'm an Animale. That's animal with an E. And then I don't do any sort of coaching or anything for trading. So fuck you for that. Just go out there and read the books that I have for you. And then
Hard money?
Yeah, for hard money, you can go to www.flipfundingnow.com or www.ridgewaylending.com. Both of them go to me, so I can definitely help you there.
Cool. Restaurant?
You can go to Blue 57. You can Google it. It's like Blue 57 Seafood and Small Plates.
What's the address?
It's Blue without an E, right?
Yeah, BLU. It's I don't even have it off the top of my head.
But it's in Andersonville. Is it on Clark?
Yeah, okay. It's like on the main street up there, North Andersonville, right next to M. Henry. If you're familiar with M. Henry, they're like the top brunch place in Andersonville.
Okay, and then Cannabis.
If you're looking to get in contact with me for, you want to get into hemp or anything like that, you can just reach me at my Ridgeway website, and then, we can get a discussion going.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we're always looking for partners in that side, and I'm still developing things. So if anyone's in cannabis, feel free to reach out and network.
Awesome. Thanks for doing this, man. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, cool, guys. It was awesome.
Till next time, guys. And that's it for another episode of the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. One last thing before you head off, though. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us your thoughts on iTunes. It would really mean a lot and help us reach more people. You can also find us on Facebook at Profits Over Wages Podcast, as well as on Instagram and YouTube. Until next time.